Thank you.
This is a book that might be of interest to you. I need it, so I cannot borrow it to you, but The Physics of Consciousness by Walker.
Thank you. Yeah. Don't worry, you can send me afterwards, no problem.
Have a look, see at Stephan's book. It's very nicely illustrated, and you can start by looking at this one, the silvery thing there. Can you see? Can you see what it is?
Wait a minute, can you see what it is? Except the image, the mirror?
Something hidden there.
Yeah, I can see it. What is it?
Perhaps you should switch on the...
Yeah, maybe you need some, or the daylight would, oh yeah, there you have it.
Yeah, kind of that object, kind of a microphone. Oh, okay, now there's color. Yeah, now I see it. Okay, that's fairly nice.
Hologram.
Because if you have a light that is not direct...
Oh yeah, it needs, yes, you're completely right. Yeah, of course, it needs to be directed light.
Yeah, you can have my business card. You have another one.
There you have another one.
Okay, thank
And
you.
now the directed light is gone. No, sunlight won't do.
Yeah.
Sunlight is not that much.
It's better. Okay.
Yes, direct sunlight.
Oh yeah, there you go. Stephan Mangold had also some recommendations. You are currently reading Jim Al-Khalili and John McFadden's book, Quantum Biology. So quantum physics is now very late in its development, coming to biology as well. It could come to medicine as well, and it will completely change medicine from its core.
Let's see. This book is written quite a number of years ago. The copyright 2000.
Yeah. And what is it? That one. Could I have a look? See?
Yeah.
It's the quick one. Very interesting. For decades, neuroscientists, psychologists, and an army of brain researchers have been struggling in vain to explain the phenomenon of consciousness. Now there is a clear trail to the answer, and it leads through the dense jungle of quantum physics, Zen, and subjective experience. Wow. What is the nature of consciousness, of will, you're interested in? What is the source of material reality, and what is God? Very interesting.
I could show also my latest book, but unfortunately in Swedish. So, but the front picture is very nice. Let's see.
It's in Swedish as well.
Svenska.
Well, just was it today or yesterday? Today in Medium, they said that God is coming back in science.
Jim Al-Khalili also made a television series that was on the BBC
Ah,
in connection with this.
Is your mail address on the
Yep.
card? Yeah, good.
My
So
site,
I will,
my site is yes body
I will,
and not no body.
here it is Jill Bolt Taylor. That is her name.
Yeah, both.
But you can have that book if you like.
Okay.
I'll give it for free.
Okay, thank you very much. But please write something in it.
Okay.
So we can also have lunch around the corner if you want later on.
Yes,
The
yeah,
lunch
that's
place here.
So this is the only book I read on quantum
yes.
physics, and it's à la plage, which means on the beach.
yes, yes.
And to make it easy, but okay, I think I have it. And this is an interesting one because it's going in the direction that this society is more and more going to the left brain. Everything needs to be numbered, and we're losing our embodiment. And this is a book I wrote, and it will be finished end of the year in
yes.
translation in English. So it will in English it will be body at peace, because in Dutch it's in peace and not in pieces. So there will be an update, and so I'll send it to both of you from the day it will be ready. So we're now at 85%. And this is a book I just bought yesterday by Sapolsky. And he's the guy who says there's no free will. Everything is determined by and so on. And I think there is free want.
Free want.
Yep.
Robert Sapolsky has become very, very popular the last maybe 4 or 5 years.
I'll show
He's
you.
all over the place and doing lectures about everything is
Yeah.
determined, predetermined.
I'm quite sure that it isn't.
No, of course it isn't. We know better.
It's
But,
the two together. And I'll show you how I tell it my patients.
Yes.
Okay? I'm left-handed, and the task of the left-handed is to stop the right-handed. Agree? Because we have overview, and which is not a reduction of the grabbing of things. So I'm very sorry. This was in theater piece in Belgium 15 years ago. You're a well-shaped woman, and I'm the priest. And you came to me for having how's it called, a big once in a while you had to go to the priest.
Must be bikt.
Yes.
I don't know what the confession.
Yeah.
Is it confession in
Sounds
English?
Yeah, something
Yes,
like that.
yes, yes.
So, and I'm the priest, and I was very impressed by what you came to
You
tell
know I'm
me.
different. I don't go to the.
Wait a minute. So I'm the priest, you're talking to me about whatever you had to confess, and I'm very interested in. And he showed. So this is what he wanted, and this is the stop. So that to me is how I tell what free want is. Something already started, I can stop it.
Yeah.
I can choose not to do it. But therefore you need to be in two worlds at the same time, the now, and the what will happen if they will find out tomorrow. And so we as a species were able to do so because the link between the two hemispheres in our species is very, very small. In most, it's much bigger. So it needs a lot of computation, but with advantages that we can imagine tomorrow and yesterday. And so that's this free want. And so there is no free will, and he is right, but there is kind of free want. For those who are being brought up in a proper way, let's say.
Free want och free will. Fria, alltså fri vilja, fri.
Ja, jag vill kalla båda uttrycken av vilja, tror jag. In Swedish it would be the same term for both of them. Fri vilja.
No, free want is I'm free to say no.
Yeah.
For something that already started.
Fri vilja,
As deterministic.
Lite klurigt där. It's a bit difficult for Swedish. I know in...
Well, one could say fri önskan.
Ja, kanske det, ja.
Fri handling.
Okej, ja, det låter bra.
What was the first? Fri handling?
Fri önskan. Free wish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, sounds good.
It's so strange that, what should I say? Okay.
But according to quantum physics, nothing is determined
No.
until the collapse of the wave function.
I'm sorry?
Nothing is determined until the collapse of the wave function.
I understand.
Before that, all possibilities exist.
I understand. Now the question is,
You,
I remember.
I think you should put this point is a bit more because not even the laws of nature are before. So
Not only then?
not even the laws of nature, the classical laws of nature, work before the collapse of the wave function.
No, I understand.
Afterwards, so everything is much freer in quantum mechanics than it even was before classical mechanics. So it's like completely free.
The classical mechanics is totally deterministic, but quantum physics is not.
No, but I
And
remember.
I'll have to add also, our language, as I mentioned, is classical.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Of course.
illusion of determinism only comes from language. It doesn't come from science.
Of course.
And in some cultures, for instance, they checked on Korea recently
Mm-hmm.
for these tests if they have a free will or not.
Mm-hmm.
They score 100% almost for free will.
Mm.
They're not aware of classical physics.
Of course. So I remember, I think I was 15 years old, and we had physics at school, and they were talking about the spin of the electrons in our brain. And then I thought, do I have any force to change that spin? No. Already when I was 15 years old. And asked the professor, what are you talking about? So I couldn't change the spin, so I couldn't change myself, or I couldn't change whatever. And it's only many, many years later that I learned that imagining something, priming something, was the only possibility to change the habit, also the bad habit. So that means that you know what priming is?
priming,
Mm-hmm.
to prime paint,
Yes.
stick.
Before we paint.
Okay. Tell me. He knows what I'm going to do now. Okay. Say aloud 10 times the word white.
White.
Okay, what drinks a cow?
Wood.
I've seen your lips going to milk. Yes?
But I changed
Yeah,
my mind.
yes, that's free will.
Yeah.
So you were made ready to ask milk due to the relation white cows.
I never made that connection.
That's not, yeah, but nine out of 10 times, this is what happens. And that's called priming. So we can prime ourselves. And now this is a very crazy question. Is priming a way of influencing the wave and the spin?
No, the free will is, we know that for a fact, the free will determines the free spin. So
The free will?
the free will determines what collapses, how it collapses. So
Yeah, but since there's no free will.
it is free will.
No,
That's all.
then you have to use another word because everyone will.
This is just classical you're talking now. There's always
That's
free will.
possible if someone writes about it, everyone will be mixed up and put it away.
It's a myth that there is no free will. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, there is free want, so there is free will.
Possibly,
But
yes.
you have to explain it, I think, that way, otherwise people who come from different whatever positions will not understand.
Well, I think it's coming now. That book, I took it up as a PDF. It shows that quantum mechanics is now coming into biology as well.
Yes, yes,
And we will. Four interesting things I got from that book was that I think the first thing was the robin. Vad heter det på svenska?
Let's see.
Robin.
Robin is in English. Robin.
Rödhake.
Rödhake.
Yeah.
The robin. It was believed that it had this. I'm not 100% sure if I can translate it correctly to English, but it had this magnetic field in its head somewhere, which has already been spotted among other birds, how to migrate to get their directions correct, or for feeding or finding their way to their nest, such things. But it turned out that the robin, rödhaken, is actually using quantum mechanics instead. And you can better explain this, but could you fill it in? It uses the collapse of the wave function. Yes.
As I understood, yes.
But
You see, that this is the problem.
It is on the front cover. This is a complete revelation.
I'm
Nobody thought.
200%, I do 200% agree. And the question comes, if, let's call it a patient, has to study quantum physics first, then we're lost for 10 years. So the question is how to tell it in such a simple way that it's correct, but that they're able to, what I call, grab it, see it and feel it. And then the three come together and then no problem.
This is why I have these two gentlemen. This is what they've been doing their whole lives.
I'm not sure this is possible. I had to struggle for at least 10 years to get it emotionally true. I could see from the equation that reality has to be like that, but that this has any connection to the chair there, I could not grasp.
No.
Now I cannot understand what was the problem.
Yeah. So these three, and I call it, every car has.
This is also the purpose of my book project, to, in easy terms, layman term, without any fuss, do this, and it's possible. I think it's possible.
Yeah, and I call it chassis of a car. Is it a chassis?
Chassis.
What's a car is
Yes.
built on a chassis, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah? That's the chassis. That's the motor. And that's the carrosserie. And if these three are not well in parallel way working together, So there's the guy who has a huge lorry. The motor broke down, but he also had a 2PK, you know, with a Citroën 2PK, these old Citroëns. Yeah. So the motor was okay. He did put in the motor into his lorry. Yes, it worked. 2 meters. So these are the way you could describe it to to people who are not known, who don't understand this. To them, of course, very strange well, science or calculations or you name it.
Another interesting thing was how insects, you know, they will have a larva state, and then they turn into a sort of pupa, I don't know, pupae, or what that is in English.
Yeah.
And they stay there for a time, and everything about the larva, it gets dissolved. So it's just a liquid inside, more or less. And it's been a mystery how it's possible, how can it turn into a butterfly, a regular fly, or a dragonfly. In this book it's explained that the purpose is what makes it become a fly or a bird, not the DNA. So the purpose comes first. So not only do we have a free will, the world has a sort of free will as well. Whether you call it the will of God or some other way, it's telos.
Yeah. I only knew it for a few weeks. Dopamine is produced by the purpose and not by having it done. And this is what was the name? The physical,
How you call some?
no, the Hans, help me. The way we calculate probabilities in our system, Bayesian statistics.
Oh yeah, Bayesian
So
statistics.
that
I have a friend who's a professor in Bayesian statistics.
And that produces the dopamine to give it a chance. And it's not the dopamine that afterwards tells you, well done.
But after, you cannot.
Yeah.
But this is another interesting thing. You can only change your future afterwards. Once it's done.
So I understand. You mean dopamine?
The
It
reward
produces
system.
our system, yes.
Yeah.
And you say it produces when you have a need for it. Is it so that
when the system projects something that is worthwhile to be done.
then it's worthwhile to be done? The dopamine.
Well, it's calculated to be worthwhile to be done. And I think that it's when it's cheaper than the habit.
Cheaper than the habit.
Cheaper than the bad habit.
Bad.
Yeah. And so it needs much more chaos. The more chaos, the better.
Talking about butterflies, have you heard about the monarch butterflies?
Yeah, yes, I've seen them a couple of times. Yes, they're very beautiful.
Yeah, and they are they get birth in Mexico, first generation. Then they during summer. Then when winter arrives, during winter, when summer arrives, they migrate to Canada.
Oh yeah.
2,000 kilometers away.
It's crazy. Butterflies migrating.
The individual have never been in Canada.
No.
He is born in Mexico. And then there is a generation in Canada during summer. The ones born from that generation migrate back to the same place in Mexico. How can this be possible? 2,000 kilometers away. And the weight of the butterfly is 0.5 grams.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. Well, the standard explanation before always was, until recently, it's all due to the DNA, but we now know it's impossible. The professor I know in stochastic statistics and Bayesian statistics, it's been counted. We can't sort of explain how birds can find their place, so it's not inside. We are giving up the idea that everything, I think it's going to go soon, that everything is in the brain. This is the classical physics, like the brain is the computer. It's all over our quantum field or something like that, rather.
I once said to my professor, your little finger is smarter than you are.
My professor said, do you believe that consciousness is in the brain and that you can find out something about checking the brain for consciousness? He started laughing. That's mythology. It's not. Nobody believes that in quantum mechanics.
Let's make it easy. I said, why do you tell me that? Well, when there's a bottle of pills and one is falling out, your finger is flexed before you told your finger to do so. Oh, now I understand.
Yeah, afterwards, yeah. Yeah, it's true. We'll be coming into a paradigm shift pretty soon here, I think. That's another example was also photosynthesis. I'm working with the words here. I think that's must be that in English as well.
Photosynthesis.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how plants, they can get 100% out of the energy in the sun, from the sun.
They do not.
They do not?
No.
How much is it?
Something like 80%.
Well, it's pretty close anyway. And that can only be explained by quantum mechanics as well, also in that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing. I don't know how ordinary solar panels, to what degree they can...
20-25%.
But
If
if
you
you
want very expensive satellites, so 40%. But it's very brittle.
but if you put
So 80%,
But
which...
that depends upon how you calculate it. Because if you take the energy absorbed by the blade,
Yes.
then it is 100%.
Aha.
But only some 10 or 15% of the light is absorbed. Otherwise, we would not see the green color of the
No
blades. They would be
reflection.
black.
Yeah, of course. Then I understand. Okay. Yeah.
But if you
It's only when you have a reflection you can get the green light.
Yes.
But if you put a plant into in a place and it's used to the sun coming every day and so on, and you close the door so there's no light, then it will move the direction waiting for the sun. So it doesn't need the light to go in that direction. It's used to whatever system, which is that's the will of the plant. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Particularly the sunflower.
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah.
goes like this.
I was in Greece early June and I saw all the fields, and when you passed the field like 11 o'clock, they're all directed in one way, and then later you return, you saw them in another direction. It's just amazing.
Yeah. So to make it easy for patients having complaints, how to get rid of their Cartesian classical Borelli. You know Borelli? Borelli is
The poison.
no Borelli.
The Borrelia.
Borelli, no, is an Italian guy who measured the forces in our body based on levers and so.
I misunderstood totally.
I thought also Borelli.
And we know that that's impossible, okay? Because if you measure, then we would need so huge forces in our lower back to do whatever. And now it's and I'm allowed to show it because I had to sign when I was lecturing in Dundee. That is called. This is not a movement that is related to gravity, because all these it has a mass and distances and so on. So our bodies use different kinds of data, some related to gravity, of course, but others also related to endogenous data. And tensegrity, you heard about tensegrity?
Tensegrity, what is
Well,
that?
I'll show you, okay? If you pull on something, does it become longer or smaller?
Pull
On
something.
whatever, yeah?
Yeah.
You pull, it becomes longer or shorter?
Well, it depends what type of material it
Yeah,
is.
that's it, okay. Our bodies are have octectic qualities, and so that's why the classical biomechanics is not correct, because that's calculated on brisk material. And if you use external data, I call it my skull is married to my vision, instead of my skull is now married to my embodiment, to the other data. And when I was reading for 2 years about muscle fiber types, and then I said to my professor, blind people are never fatigued. What do you tell me now? That's impossible. But she checked it, and a few days later she told me, you're correct, now get on with your investigations, and that was the start of my PhD. So, and it is already in the Old Testament that the stiff-necked people, that's no good. So once more, the representation you have of your own body, and what you thought in school and wherever, how it functions, is most of the time the first mistake you make if you want to move.
The first mistake, if you
Want to move is to think how to do it.
how to do it. Okay?
And imagining it in a crazy way can help you to do it better. And let me check, because Hans, tell them how you made contact with me after John Appleton.
Oh yeah, somebody was asking for, could you wait a bit with that? Because there is a question from somebody in the group, Kalle.
Okay.
He wants to hear more about, because Stephan Mangold made a very good short explanation in his book, which you can see, about frekvensfältet.
It's, the frequency domain.
Mm-hmm.
Because in quantum physics it's just frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing, there's no time, no space, just. So that is what you.
Yes, he's currently in Greece, and he wants to explain that to someone in Greece, a professor at Athens University. So I will record it, maybe put it on the whiteboard as well. Let's see here if this will work. Let's see if it stops here. Is this one? Maybe this will work as a break. So first there is something called the frequency field, that's like the notebook, or the amp, not the amp.
Svängningsmönster.
Svängningsmönster.
It's a pattern of frequencies in harmony with each other.
So first you have something called a svängningsmönster, and it almost doesn't have time nor space.
Mhm.
That could be helpful for you when you talk about priming, because that could only happen afterwards.
What is that priming? Priming
Is the fact that you can influence, let's call it the next second.
the next thing. Okay.
Ah.
Yeah, right.
The next second happens afterwards. It doesn't happen before. And I'll show it to you now. You will learn something new here. This is very interesting. So all the information is here in the notebook. You can think about that as when you want to have a concert or something. You have all the notes. But partitur in Swedish,
Mhm.
partitur in maybe French as well.
And that's
The score.
Oh yeah, the score, yeah. And it's not expanded in space and time yet. Could that be correct?
Yes.
And so there is no before, there's no after in reality. You need to remember that, because this only came in the 18th century with Newton,
Mhm.
the before thing. You can change afterwards maybe. But what happens if you go from the svängningsfältet, whatever that is in English, to the frequency, and then you get expansion in XYZ, so to speak, and time. And then you get music, for instance. Is that pretty correct?
Yeah.
More or less? So you have the both, you have the before, but that before is not before in time. It's not
the
a second
no,
before.
It's the habit.
Well, the habits, it
What
doesn't
goes
really
on
work
by-
with habits.
what it does by itself.
I would say the free will can do it. The free will repeats itself currently, but you still have free will, of course. There's no involuntary action. But this develops into a nice concerto
Mm-hmm.
or a melody of some sort. Is that pretty correct?
But that's similar to Dennis Noble.
Yeah, it has connection to Dennis Noble. His new favorite here, a new geneticist who had his tenure and he retired. And now in his retirement, he has questioned the idea of his Dawkinsian EU-Darwinism. I don't know if you heard about this chap.
No.
He just recently became very popular. So, and he
He
says
was the
So what
inventor of the
is his point?
pacemaker. His point is, let's see here. I don't.
I
So,
can-
sorry about the whiteboard here.
I can show you the picture of his book that is.
Regularly, you think DNA is absolutely separable from reality, like this, and it sort of governs everything in reality, like how the body is structured and everything, and that there is a border in between DNA and the rest of the world. And this is very, very close to, what's his name, Richard Dawkins, I don't know if you remember that book, The Selfish Gene. A book that became very popular in the 70s. It's well written, and it's like sort of an ideology, philosophy that everything is even more determined. So me standing here in front of you, drinking coffee, is sort of predetermined by, predetermined by DNA. And he questions that. He says DNA is not separate from the rest of reality, so it's sort of.
This is what they actually say, that there is a bottom up information of DNA, but that is also a top down, and that they work together, and they influence the tissues, the cells, the system, the neural, and so on and so on. But at the same time, all these parts influence the whole. So that's game theory.
And there have been some observations about people who have got heart transplant,
Mm-hmm.
that they get the feelings of the person who died, who
Mhm.
donated. Such observations are not possible in Sweden because, according to law, one cannot tell who gave the heart.
Okay, it's anonymity that is
Yes,
there.
but in some countries this is possible, and there have been such observations.
Ah.
Very strange.
Wow, yeah, it's like the whole thing is part of consciousness.
Yes.
You are in this svängningsmönster. So how shall we frequency
Mm-hmm.
as a
Frequency pattern, maybe.
frequency pattern?
It's a very Western. The idea that there is a physical body is very Western, and it doesn't exist.
It's a reduction of reality.
Yeah, but you are a svängningsmönster, so the totality of you is not separable in a body or a soul.
No, of course.
Yeah.
And
This is like a hologram.
That's Spinoza's idea also.
So a hologram is the same. I mean,
Yeah.
you see this pattern, and you cannot see what it is.
Like you observed when you looked at that picture in Stephan's book, and you could not see what it was until that
Yeah.
light was on.
Yeah.
So this is how I tell it. With my wife, I'm in front of a shoe shop. Do we see the same shoe shop? Yes. Do we see the same shoes? No. Because I'm interested in male shoes, and she in female shoes, but also in shoes that I could wear.
Aha, okay.
So we don't extract the same shoes to our system, although we would agree that we're in front of the same shoe shop.
Yeah, okay. I understand.
It's a crazy example, but that's the way people can understand what it's all about.
I will see if I can get the translation here about svängningsmönster to.
He is very practical. That's this simple idea is in his book, and it makes it easy to understand what it's about. The whole idea of a physical body falls away. There's so many languages in the world.
Have you thought about translating your book into English?
Yeah, but I would like to get some more views with the book before I translate it.
Mhm. Add a bit more of the latest, maybe.
Well, there is, I go focus very much on time with the second dimension, and this is I still need to get the mathematics with it. I mean, to make a mathematic on 5 dimensions is not that easy.
I can well imagine.
I mean, the four dimensions is very complicated. As Einstein, he had not the ability to solve that and with the tensor and all that. But Hilbert helped him.
Aha. The
And
mathematician.
Lemaitre.
Yeah.
Lemaitre.
Lemaitre as well. He was also.
But
Yeah, it was
the Belgian
Belgian
priest
yeah.
who
Leuven.
solved Einstein's equations for the entire universe
Ah.
and predicted Big Bang.
Yeah, Lemaitre. Leuven is not too far from you.
I studied in Leuven for 2 years, and it's let's say some 50 kilometers from me.
We're talking about. I was informing Jan about our Walloon people here,
Yes.
and in Sweden it's very important to see if you have Walloon relatives.
Yes.
And I don't know if you heard about this. There's something called the Walloonvecket.
Uh-huh.
Have you heard it?
No.
So if you check your arm, if there are 4 folds, that is a typical Walloon trait coming from the Walloon people. And I traced my relatives from Wallonia, but not Leuven, but Liège.
Yes, Leuven is not Wallonia.
Leuven is not Wallonia?
Leuven is not
Aha, but Liège is.
Liège, yes.
And they called it something different, Liège, something like that. Turned out they had their own language.
So svängningsmönster, translated to oscillation pattern.
Oscillation pattern, yeah,
That's,
okay.
that's a good oscillation because it's oscillation.
So that relates to the before.
And the hologram has this oscillation pattern if you have a very transparent hologram. If you put it on with a laser, you can see what it is. For instance, if it's this one here. But if you break it apart, you get the plum on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, crack it in 1,000 pieces, you still have a plum in every. So in every part, you have the whole reality there.
And this is how memory is stored in the brain also, like such a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
That is what pre-Bram.
So
Yeah, pre-Bram, yeah.
what happens if you cut a hologram in 2 pieces, you get the same picture in both pieces, but a little blurred. And that is exactly how, when you lose memory, they are getting more and more blurred.
Yeah.
They're not able anymore to come to a concentration of whatever.
No.
Becomes a little bit dimmer.
Because all the information is spread across the entire brain.
Of course. And then we have to make it up.
Yes.
And including the heart.
Then you have to do, to recover it, you have to do like turning on this lamp.
Excellent example. The lamp is involved. So to get to reality, you need to be present as well. The former idea of reality was that the reality was outside,
Mm-hmm.
and it was independent of your observation. But there is no outside reality in itself. It can become everything. And as in the shoe shop example for Japanese people, they wouldn't see shoes. There wouldn't be a shoe shop even. And that makes perfect sense in Japanese. But for some reason, it doesn't make sense in English.
Yeah, but what would they? They answer the question, "Where are you?" And what
They don't use the language is completely different from the bottom up.
You should ask them, "Where are you?"
It would be a nonsensical question because
Yeah,
their
but
system
what was
is-
their answer? What would they say?
they couldn't understand your question. It's so
So
different.
you can't ask them, "Where are you?"
No, they use another system. We had this Lakota Indian here, Tilka Singh, who was in Jonsered, the same place.
Mm-hmm.
And in his language it's even more different. There are no nouns, there are no adjectives, no adverbs. So I can't even mention you as a person. So the question where wouldn't make any sense for that. So there's no where, there's no what, there's no how. All those things doesn't exist.
But
And it works
But
perfectly.
in Japanese, the word shoe exists.
But no,
No.
don't try to get it European.
No. Is there a word for shoe, or is this also? Is there a difference between the word for this, for plate, or for
Well,
shoe?
it's you could say it like this. I think the Lakota is the best. The word changes with language. You don't have shoes. The Tukusin Indian, he was not aware of shoes or objects. They didn't exist in his world. But he learned English when he was 8 or 9. And I asked this question: how did it feel to learn English, which is a very peculiar language because they have nouns, as you say, shoes? And he said it was a terrible thing. Everything felt static.
Just thinking, I don't have anything. I don't dare to use the word feet. No?
No, you use the svängningsmönster. What did we say?
Oscillation pattern.
You're an oscillation pattern, so there's no physical
Yeah,
body.
I know, but suppose I'm walking I have pain, I don't think that those.
Now there's only three things that doesn't exist in Dakota. I, walking, or walking maybe exists in another way, but pain doesn't exist at that.
I don't, no. They will have the feeling of myself putting a knife into
No.
They won't feel it?
It's completely different,
No,
mate.
they will feel it. No, this is important. They will feel it, okay?
No, you're using European words now.
That's possible, but they will say, they will.
You're trying to Europeanize them.
No.
That language is built upon verbs. So, putting a knife into a body, that would be a verb.
I understand.
The pain would be a verb.
I understand.
Yes.
And not located in a physical body.
I understand everything else.
Yeah.
But my question is, would he like it or not?
That would be a verb. Like is an adjective.
No.
Of course they would not.
Okay.
But now you translate it into English.
No, they will have a reaction.
They would.
English once more.
Yeah, that's possible, but that will not bring us any
reaction actually is a verb.
Yeah, it could be a sort
It
of.
will be whatever as a reaction for not having that pain anymore.
Yes.
Okay. And they of course have another explanation. Okay.
And of course, there are lots of things about reality that they cannot understand in that language.
But we also,
Yes.
and I'll show you.
Yeah.
I think the important takeaway about this, I study linguistics, words make up the world. There's no world out there. There are no shoe shops or things, because it's different for different people. They will experience something completely different.
Yeah.
And you won't even have the word experience, because it suggests that there are things to experience.
That doesn't mean that they don't feel anything.
In your explanation in English, yes, but they will not express it that way.
They will not express it with words or something.
He had actually a word, he taught me, chukahata, and it meant, he can translate it, in English it would be dislike and also love. So you see the complexity here? So
we will never be able to understand it and to work with it.
No.
Okay, now tell them how you met me. John Appleton.
Well, that was ages ago. I was spending time in a cabin in Vårgårda, and we were isolated in this book project. And to be honest, it was rather horrible, because we didn't see people for days. It was one of these area called Eyskens. I told you about the socken before. It's how we used to delineate Sweden. And I think for 3 days I haven't seen any human beings, not even a car. It's not so far from Gothenburg, but it's very isolated. And I think I'm going to call John Appleton, and I had contact with him for, I don't know, 2-3 months. And it was a really weird synchronicity that he contacted me. I didn't have his mail address, I just saw he had a web page on the internet. And then all of a sudden he sent me an email. How he got my mail account, I don't know. And he asked me, I am of Swedish descent. My father was from Hyssna, also Borås. Can you tell me anything about that? And I said, I'm sorry, I'm not from that neck of the woods. But we can have a Zoom meeting, because I was feeling very lonely out there in the woods. So I started talking to him, and I said, sure, I can try to help you to find your relatives. And then we talked a couple of times, and they said, I had this friend, Jan, who's from Belgium, and he really liked Sweden. So I was thinking, I got to trick Jan. So I took a photo of the cabin when it had snowed. And I knitted it very nicely, cozy, like a winter landscape, and I sent it to you. And he immediately responded. Because John said he really likes Sweden. And after that, we had a Zoom meeting maybe in the woods, where I was in the woods.
I was not in the woods.
No.
I was in the mood, not in the mood.
But it was interesting directly.
It's something about Appleton.
Oh, Appleton. He's of Swedish descent, and he came over here. And by happenstance, we met into his relatives actually in his. It was also weird synchronicity. We had like a coffee break, and somebody paused, and the people that served the coffee said, "Maybe he's a relative of yours." And he came over. And I remember that his wife, Tina, she's very academically schooled, very, if you like, classically physical, and she had her mouth completely open. And John said, "You don't believe in destiny." So we met his relatives, and John, it's very hard to explain what John does. Maybe you can.
He had, let's say, medical problems, and he, let's say, teached himself to use images in order to change it for the better. He's a carpenter. He was trained as a carpenter, and then he followed courses in Alexander technique, and he made it to the, let's say, the next step. The images he used to get himself to the better, he used them in parallel to the Alexander technique. And I met him a few times, and then I used the system, and the system is so difficult to start with. It's, let's call it, it's as if it's quantum physics. And so I made out of it, you see, these are the three parts that have to work. Yeah? So I made cards telling the essence of, because there is a disease, there is also illness, and there is sickness, and these are three different parts of, but a lot of time they overcome. So then there is the this is how I tell it. There's Vietnam, there's a war, there are soldiers, wounded soldiers, much pain, and that's the start of providing the science and the science related to pain. And so there is a local problem, then there's a regional problem, and then the overall, and then they influence each other. And now the problem is that the patient is only 1% of the time in our neighborhood. So it's a mathematician, Leonid Blum, who agreed, because his father was a medical doctor and kind of a chiropractor osteopath, and he said to his father, it's impossible to cure someone in 1% of the time. They need to give attention to, which is something I already knew. So this is the classical way of seeing it. It's the head telling whatever in the body is not working with it, or the body is doing something and the head says stop, but it's not able to stop whatever function. So this is dysfunction. And of course it's Cartesian, it's and so on. Now, this is the timing in our system. It's always now. This now is already different from the previous now, okay? And whatever happens in this now is regulated by sub and pre-conscious, you name it. And then there's a 200 millisecond delay, and just a thought is 100 milliseconds, so we can make an end at something that started out of itself. And now this is my main question: if there's a relation between learning how to prime yourself, so that whatever function you're doing comes in a cheaper way, what I call without DVA, which is called, I always forgot. DVA is not
The tax?
yeah.
Well, that's moms.
Moms. You can move
Without
with
moms.
or without moms. All these patients use whatever system with a lot of moms. Okay? And so there is a relation between what muscle fibers you use. Type 1s, type 2s. Type 1s are made. And they're related now to physics because you were for 9 months in the womb. Omnidirectional pressure, omnidirectional expansion. And so this is felt to be normal. And then poof, you come on the ground one way or the other, and you have to stand up. You can stand it or you cannot stand it, you see? And so it comes with a difference in the costs. Now, if people are not sitting well, we can teach them how to sit, but not using words, because if you say you got to sit straight up, then it's the wrong muscle type, the type 2. And if you use images, and this is to start with the reduction of Appleton's imagery, then they can learn to see themselves sitting in a different way, and to see the movement they were going to make to stand up. So of course, if you think I'm sitting, I want to stand up, I need to go up. That's logical, okay? No. You got to go
You could possibly compare maybe the imagery to the oscillation space. Would that be nice?
So if I'm going to stand up, tensing my neck, no, I have to go down, and the whole system will provide me a system without moms. And now the question is, if see how you're standing in the world, how you walk, and I made images. I call them Eyskens. My name is Eyskens, but Eyskens. My vision, I can imagine me doing a lot of things in such a way that, and this is also, before the Greek, this was the central part of the body.
It looks actually like the quantum field. Could that be used for that? No.
That was the center, and all the Greeks brought the alphabet and language and the shift to the left hemisphere. Yeah? And so we learn how to do it, and I'll show you. This is the image. Okay, I'll tell it just the way. In front of me is a door stud. I don't mind. There's down. That's my soil, that's my point of vision. And there's up. There's down, and there's up. And now I feel my back is relaxing, since I can also use these data, gravitational data. Now very slowly I come to a standing position, and this is how I am, and who I am. I'm now a body. It's not that I have a body and I need to hold it in whatever way. And it's related to culture, because in Antwerp there are a lot of Jews. That's how they stand. People in Antwerp stand like that. But Georgian Jews, they stand like that.
What do you say? What do you call them?
Georgian.
Georgian Jews. Who are they? From Georgia?
So they came from the west and not from the south.
Georgian Jews.
So they stand properly. Meaning the relation between culture and your name. And so these are then the images I provide to I call them actions, not patients. Because patients, that's passive. They ask someone to let's say, to heal them. but they have to learn something. Of course, if you have cancer, the doctor needs a knife to cut it away. That's something else. But if it's chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, burnout, you name it, then you have to learn to be in a different way in the environment and to get rid of your bad habits. So I'm sorry, I'm only having one. But if you put them all on the ground, then this is what you will get.
Eyskens.
Meaning, this is something Appleton
Yeah, this is.
so we came
you
out
could
of
call
the
it-
water and like a jellyfish. Then there was gradually the first uprighting on 4 legs, and then there was a second uprighting. But that means that we could foresee and we could make up 2 worlds, and that all these patients, and now I'm not exaggerating because they're not telling it like that, they want to return to the womb. Because there was chaos, but they didn't mind. But once born, there was still chaos, but they had to mind it. And now the question is, so it's up to you. And the rest is on my site. Yes, Dolly, and the downloads, everything I published is on the site.
Precis, ta här just där.
Sure. We pass.
Ja, det var Stefan.
I think there's an interesting connection there to how we see about time in the West.
Ja, jag är på ett möte,
Because
men är det något akut?
I spoke to an Indian fellow many years ago.
Men
He said that it seems that Westerners do not plan the future,
Okej.
and maybe there's a connection there with the idea of linear time, the Newtonian linear time. Maybe it could be hard to plan any foreseeable future. In India, there's a lot of destiny and synchronicity and things. One could say they believe in fate, and without that fate, this Indian guy said who was really successful in his business. He said, "I decide where to put my next door by the gods," and he threw some stones, and that decided where to open it. And the idea of a classical rationality, it's a construction, it's a figment of fantasy in the 18th century. It didn't appeal to him. He said, Indian people do not use that. Nothing works there. I can imagine not seeing the next moment is very Western, because we are sort of stuck in idea that there are, I think it could be shown this way, that there is a before and there is a now, and this now is only 1 nanosecond.
Of course.
And maybe this is a part of the problem. I think we discussed this once, because the now is so short.
Yeah, no, there's no now. Even when telling the word now, the start of the word is all different.
And now is expanded in time. In India, it's at least as long as what you do something. So they don't have this idea of seconds. And they have the same word for tomorrow.
Yesterday, kall. Windy.
Yeah, kal was it, yeah. It means both tomorrow and yesterday.
I've seen a lot of Indian patients. Once was the sun.
The idea about the kal, it works much more effective than the idea of having it tomorrow, because in many cultures tomorrow doesn't exist. They have 4 directions in many African languages. 1 to the left, 1 to the right, 1 in front of them, and 1 in back of them.
Yeah.
So it seems to be a cultural thing, this with tomorrow and before.
Yeah,
And maybe that has some influence, I don't know.
Once I saw an Indian guy, he went home, his parents asked him, "What did Mr. Eyskens tell you?" And he said, "Mr. Eyskens is very crazy." How come? He told me this and that. And said,
Who's Mr. Stress?
Wait a minute. So an Indian guy, he came home, his parents asked him, "What did Mr. Eyskens tell you?" He told them, and both parents started to laugh. "Why do you laugh?" And the answer was, "That's just what a yoga teacher in Mumbai tells us to do." So I asked him, "What did they tell you?" see what you do, feel what you do, tell yourself what you're doing, and now it comes, feel what it does with the rest of your body.
But who's this Mr. Stress?
No, Mr. Stress.
You said Mr. Stress told me to...
No. The son is an Indian guy. I think he was 18, 19 years old. He went home to his parents.
But where was he before?
He was in my office.
Oh, Mr. Eyskens, you said.
Mr. Eyskens.
Oh,
Yeah.
he came to you. You should have told.
What did he? I had a patient many years ago.
Mr. Eyskens,
What
you
did
said.
Mr. Eyskens
Yeah, Eyskens, that's how you pronounce it.
tell you? Yeah, that's crazy that the guru in Mumbai told they went twice a year to Mumbai to see their guru, and these were the four things he already mentioned that were the most important. So to go to the, you name it.
It's always when you, for instance, leave your home, you have to lock the door. I always think I'm locking the door. I don't think of anything else, just locking the door. And I go to the car and I know I have locked the door. Because I don't, have I locked the door? No, I do. And because I was thinking of it. There's no problem now. And what you said, four things. One was...
The first is tell yourself what you're doing.
Exactly. I'm locking the door.
Second is see what you're doing.
I see the key, yeah, and
the third is feel what you're doing.
I feel it, then I lock.
And the fourth is feel what's related to the whole of your body. Okay, now just stand up. Let's make it practical. Just stand up. Okay. It's not practical, it's only just put yourself right there. Okay, your arms like that. Don't do anything. I'll tell you what to do. And just try to feel what's going on. Okay? I want you to lift your right arm horizontally. And come back. Now the question is, what foot did receive the most pressure? Both possible. That's not a problem. But you can lift your right arm and having more pressure on the right. You can lift your right arm and have more pressure on the left. Agree?
I think
I don't feel any difference.
It's probably the same.
You're not an Indian guy.
I did it as well, I didn't see any difference.
You should go to the guru. Yeah? So, if I'm telling myself I'm lifting my arm, I can see it.
Yeah.
I can make the image. I can tell it. I can feel what's going on.
Yeah.
But also I have an attention to what it does with my center of gravity towards and so on. What leg is now taking more pressure. And that's
Okay,
basic. You understand what I mean?
I know physically that it does, but I don't feel anything.
And that's the problem of Western society. Sorry for that.
I'm very anxious to hear about consciousness, that the book you're reading. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
About the book of consciousness and biology, whatever it was.
Sounded so interesting with Zen and everything.
Yeah, the physics of consciousness. What he has made quantum mechanical calculations on the tubular in the
that one of
brain
Penrose
synapses. Yes.
and Freebram, isn't it? It's Stuart Hamroff. Do you know?
And what he has found is that this is not governed by classical physics like diffusion equations and such. It is on the size to be quantum mechanical.
Ah. And that already in that temperature of our bodies, which is like 37 degrees,
Yes.
which is way too warm for those things normally.
No.
It could still work.
You have quantum mechanics in the sun.
Oh yeah.
And on the beach.
Very interesting.
And particularly in a supernova, during 10 seconds in the explosion, all the heavy elements are formed.
Explodes almost, expands.
First, it collapses, and then it hits to the neutrons and protons and bounces back.
And that happened to something that used to be a star then.
Yes, a giant star that has consumed all its hydrogen.
Oh
So
yeah,
it
there's
cannot
nothing
burn
left.
anymore.
No.
Then it just doesn't fade out. It collapses and becomes a supernova.
One of these stars are Betelgeuse in the.
Oh, the blue one you can see in the sky.
No, it's yellow.
Yeah, I thought it was more bluish when I got
No,
it.
it's yellow.
Okay.
I didn't hear what you.
Betelgeuse.
Betelgeuse in
It
Orion.
is rather orange in color.
Oh,
Orange,
okay.
yes.
Fair enough.
And they don't know when it will happen.
But
Oh.
It's 600 light years from us.
Oh.
But they have studied it that it is shrinking.
No.
So it's
Just yesterday on the Flemish radio, there was one telling what you're talking about right now.
And we are just outside the safety zone or the dangerous zone.
From the possible.
This
effects.
explosion could cause some trouble here, but it would not take all the atmosphere away. Like
Thank God for that.
at least they
Maybe
say
that
so.
anyway.
But if you say consciousness, I think you have also in English mind
Mm-hmm.
and consciousness, and we have just lived it.
Oh,
We
Yes.
don't have any distinction between mind and consciousness.
No. It
So
doesn't
our-
exist in Swedish. And even medvetande is a pretty new word in Swedish.
What?
We use the word medvetande, and even that is pretty new. It sounds very scholarly. We don't have a word for mind in Swedish.
No?
Not as such. Medvetande sounds very scholarly, or my grandparents would use medvetande. Is this something you could eat? They would probably say.
And is the word for mental?
Also very scholarly word, psykiskt, something like that. It's an ancient language.
We have talked, I mean, you mentioned some words, and one word is synchronicity.
Synchronicity, yeah.
Have you, what is your thinking about that?
In Dutch we have the word toeval.
Toeval.
Yeah,
Zufall.
toeval.
Is in German, is it
Zufall, yeah.
Zufall?
Yeah, sounds a bit like that.
Yeah.
Tillfälle?
Meaning that we give an explanation to two things that seems to happen at the same time. And it valt u toe. It's just coming to you for whatever reason.
Toeval and toe.
Well, no, two Fall, fallen,
fallen, ja.
Fehlung.
Okay, ja. Fehlung, ja, das ist in German, auf Deutsch, ja, super, ja.
So it
just happens.
It just happens, and then we need an explanation, of course.
Well, yeah.
And then you say it's gravity in this case, or synchronicity. I was driving 3-4 days ago, and I remember when I was in Sweden years ago, I know a doctor who is called Allan Emrén, and there was, let's say, it will not be in a village, sand. So I took a picture, and I was driving, and I was thinking about a picture of the many years ago, and 100, 200 meters further, what did I see? Sun.
You're kidding?
No.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
Is that synchronicity? No. To me, that's our system that takes out of reality what is important to us.
That is interesting. A synchronicity is actually at the bottom of reality. So this is what we discovered.
Make it.
No. It's in the bottom of.
Yeah, but
Schrödinger said the idea of chance
Mhm.
is coming from something we proven false. That is classical physics. So synchronicity is actually what drives the universe, at least according to Schrödinger.
Yeah.
That was his view.
But
I don't know what you fellows think about that. What would you say? Mangold?
Synchronicity.
It's hard to pronounce, isn't it? Synchronicity. Sorry about that.
Synchronicity. It is very strange. It's for me. It's when you are in a bad position. Usually it sorts itself.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were in India, it was in Nepal. We were going to a track, and we had to put our van in a safe place.
Mm-hmm.
Our bus.
The bus. Yes.
And the husbilen and on a safe place. So we asked at the airport if we could put it there in a safe parking. No, they had no ability to do that. And we went to the police and said that we can park it somewhere here in safety. No, it's not possible. And we were sitting there. Our rucksacks were packed and everything was ready to go. And we just sitting in the bus. How shall we solve it? And he knocked on the door. Hello, I see you are from Sweden. And he talked Swedish with us.
You're kidding.
And he said,
what time was it, in the 80s or 90s?
That was 79.
Oh my God, there were hardly any Swedes there then.
And then he said, can I help you? Yeah, we would like to put this bus or a house in a safe place. Well, you can put it in my garden, no problem. And you can go hiking, and when you come back, you can take a shower, and I'll give you a nice meal.
Yeah, you can call that synchronicity, but suppose that
I think you should listen to this, because when I was in India, I come to think, maybe I mentioned this, but I went to India many years ago to work as a personalchef, employees, staff, something. And we had some problem coming from Gothenburg. We never received a working permit in India. So we were 3 people stranded in India, including 1 kid who was only 2 years old, without work. And we were slowly running out of money, but we were supposed to stay there for a very long time. And in this process, which probably happened to you as well, you get sick, because hygiene is really scarce in India. And I also had 3 or 4 penicillin treatments, and you know what that does to the stomach and
to the microorganisms.
What do you call it?
microbiome.
Yes, microbiome and autoimmune's defense system. So that was down, and I got so sick. I got amoeba dysentery, and I had something else at the same time. And I just lost fluid. And what happens if I was in southern India, and the heat time was there, so all the tourists disappeared. So there were no one else who were on my affliction, like pale skin. And I noticed that they didn't care much about me. Especially this area was very, very strictly Hinduistic. It was called Mysore. And I went down to the reception and said, I'm very, very sick. I don't know what's happening. And the only thing they did in the reception was to double the rent. Because they realized I could not leave the hotel. So I didn't feel any Christian pity there. I don't know Christianity, or I imagine in Judaism there was also some mercy. No mercy. And I was completely alone. And I lost my capability to make good decisions. So I just stayed in the hotel room. And I got, of course, sicker and sicker. And one of these days, a group of tourists turns up in the middle of the heat season when nobody comes there. And the only thing I remember, they were from Slovakia, or what used to be Czechoslovakia. And they looked horrible because of the heat. And they couldn't speak any English, not even German actually, which amazed me. And I got sicker. Maybe I had a chat with them. But when I get really bad, I didn't even go up to bed, because I was like transformed into dream state, maybe mixed with dehydration, lack of the minerals you lack, because there was nothing like you could not take. I didn't open the door, and one of the people in Slovakia noticed it. And in India at that time, you used to lock it from the inside with one of these hang locks. So it's very hard to get in as well. But he kicked in the door. They told me later, I understood, and drove me to some sort of sjukstuga. And I got fluid, and that saved my life.
Yes.
That is Slovakia. And I didn't think of that thing. I was still in this myth of classical physics by then. And I told people in Sweden I had a lucky happenstance. And then I called my old professor. And he got angry and said, you know nothing of physics, nothing of what I taught you. That is not chance. Chance doesn't exist. It's a myth. Some label we put on things that actually connected in physics. So he got really angry, and it took me 1 year to accept his physical look. But it saved my life. But it took like 2 months before I get better again.
What would you say? I mean, he interrupted you in your thinking.
Well, that there was a link between both organisms.
Both organisms.
The one who kicked in the door and Hans.
Oh yeah, somehow.
A link. Whatever link.
Whatever link. Okay.
And don't underestimate the smell.
The smell.
So you could well have smelled something, whatever, and made it new. And I can show it. I tell it people this way.
What do you think, Allan, about this synchronicity?
I will listen to you first, and then I will tell something very interesting.
Oh, sorry. Are you?
Yes, I'm recording now.
Sorry.
Hello.
Sorry.
Where do you want to stand?
I just want to.
On the whiteboard.
No. Wait a minute. Maybe we can do it this way. If you want it to be on the
I can focus on the screen. You want that?
Yeah, but then let's do it this way. It's okay?
I zoom in on it, so I only see the screen now and Mangold.
Okay. So this is a tower in Antwerp, and it's called the Peasants Tower.
Oh, yes.
But I have a new girlfriend, and she lives in Lievegem. And Antwerp is at the Schelde, which is a river, but there is no river going to Lievegem. So I know I need to take, without thinking, I know I need to take the train. So I go to the train. Okay, wow, what a nice pub. I've seen it, but since I'm not that thirsty, maybe I will take one beer, but not two. So what? Oh yes, that street, very nice street. So that shop I didn't know. So it comes to me because there are a lot of other things I don't take out of the. I could have taken the metro. Yeah, that's for next time. Oh, what's that? Not now, not now.
It's Ganesha, no?
Yeah. And then someone asks me, you know about Rubens? Yes, of course. And I'll show them the way to go to the Rubens house. So I help them, but I don't go with them to the house. Then this is how I explain it to women. You have a new skirt or a new whatever, but you don't have any shoes to go with it. You will see shoes, of course.
Trick them.
I made a PhD on chronic fatigue syndrome, which is in Dutch chronisch vermoeidheid syndrome. So of course I see this plate because it mentions something to me. Well, then there's a guy and he said, where's Central Station? Because I have to put my step there. Okay, just give it to me. I'm going to the Central Station. I'll use it. Well, maybe next time. So, and it's called affordances. And it are the Gibsons that have taken it from veterinarians. If someone can afford it, he will see it, he will notice it, and so on. And afterwards there will be an explanation. So you see, there's the Central Station. Whoa, that's nice. Not now, but I've seen it because I didn't think it would be there. So I'm nearly there. And there's an elephant. Now the zoo is just behind. Now there are two possibilities. I'm a journalist, or I'm a photographer, or I'm neither of these two. Now, if I'm one of these two, I can call my wife and say, you won't believe me, but there's a pink elephant, and I can take pictures, and then tomorrow they will be in the newspaper. And then my wife will say, no problem, just see what you can do. But if I'm neither of the two, she said, hey, don't you love me? And so this will bring me to the Central Station, so we can make images before, although monkeys, it's called nadenken in Dutch, to think afterwards, but we can prime ourselves to have images or words, whatever, before. So that's what I think about synchronicity. So,
so the elephant you made up in your mind.
No. Suppose someone is walking and I need new shoes. I will not see the shop was next. It's of I always everyone always makes a reduction of reality in order in function of what suits you, and it's called affordances. And this I can check it. There's a video of the studio. There's a woman with her dog, And the dog was raised. The dog was raised.
Oh yeah, thanks.
The dog was raised.
Was so much into the story.
No problem. The dog was raised in a vegetarian way. So she
Poor dog.
Yeah. And then someone came with two bowls, one with vegetarian food and one with meat. And then they you just let the dog out. Where did you think the dog went to?
Me.
Yes. So it was an affordance out of his DNA, you call it the way you want to, and so that's never eaten. And then there's another important thing, and is related to biology, to medicine. Severe patients with epilepsy, they cut their brains in two. And then they show them a picture going in the right and a picture going into the left hemisphere. And the picture in the left, then they ask them, what did you see? I just saw a paw of a chicken. Okay, and what else? Nothing. Okay. Then they show them 8 pictures and they ask what pictures are related to what you just saw. Yep, these 2. Okay, why? A chicken head, because I saw a chicken paw, and then a snow shovel. Snow shovel. The picture, there was a snow a landscape with a lot of snow, and so then they asked why. They make it up. They confabulate. So we all confabulate. And I always say to my wife, I'm always right. I'm always right, but I'm very lucky.
Maybe if you say you create your own reality, which is physically real. It's maybe
I'm
true.
always right, but I'm glad you love me and that you dare to say, no, yeah, that's not true. So because we all confabulate. And we need to confabulate due to whatever happened once in our right hemispheres. That's on, let's say, a functional level. And of course there will be quantum or whatever other explanations for that. But this is
Allan, now we're waiting for Allan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give you a chance.
One had found something very interesting about heartbeats. If a couple have been living together for many years, and when they come into the same room, their hearts start to beat at the same pace.
Wow.
Yeah. It's worse than, not worse. If young women went to university, they all had their cycle, and when they started to live together in a house, they had their menstruation at the same moment.
Yes.
Pheromones.
Yes.
Don't
And
underestimate.
I have a hypothesis that the number of divorces have been increasing during the last 50 years. And my hypothesis is that this is caused by the shower.
By the shower?
Yes. The body sends away chemical substances named pheromones, and the function of them, they are individual, and the function of them is to tie 2 people together. With a shower, you
take
flush
the
them
pheromones away and deodorant as well.
and then the tie is broken.
Yeah, I understand. But and if they take a bath every day?
What?
If they would have taken a bath every day,
Yes.
it would be
It
the
would
same?
be the same.
Oh, okay. Yeah, of course. The shortest way to the brain is this, huh?
Yes.
The shortest way.
And they are almost odorless, but they are more addicting than hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
So we not shower anymore. That's
You had a synchronicity, Allan, did you, when you met your love of yours,
Yeah.
which was really
My wife, who I met when I was a teenager, died in 2012, and then in 2014, on June 6, I got a message of a kind that I get at least once a week or more often from women, mostly in South Asia or Africa or South America, telling would be like nice to know each other. What are you doing today? And I answer all mails that I get. And usually, after a month or two, it turns out that the real purpose was to get money. It could be that the mother has gone into hospital, or the brother has been in a car accident.
Yeah. Tricks.
Or she wants to come and want me to send money for the airline ticket. Anyway, I got such a message, and I replied as usual. And I got a reply that appeared a bit curious, astonished. So, and a week later it turned out that she had never sent any message to me. So I was going to take the original message and send that to her. Then it had disappeared entirely. It was not to be found anymore. So my explanation is that some server somewhere had broken down and mixed up things, created a message from her to me, and then they had uploaded the back copy, and then the faulty message, of course, had disappeared. Anyway, we continued to be in touch, and in October she was in Canada visiting her daughter, and then one day she wrote on Facebook, "Today I am furious. I was at the travel agency to get my airline ticket back, and then they had blocked my credit card." And I thought, there it comes. And then next message, "Don't send any money. I will take care of this." So after New Year in 2015, I went there, and it turned out that we fit rather well together. So she came to Sweden to meet my daughters, and it worked well. So we decided that we should make a test together with my daughters and the husband of one of them and a friend. We chartered a sailing boat in Croatia and was sailing for 1 week. The idea was that if we can live in that crowded place for 1 week and still be friends, then it could work. And it did. So
did you shower?
So now we are married.
Would you call this synchronicity?
Yeah, and it turned out to be even more than that. Because my first wife, Ingrid, and I kissed the first time on March 18 in 1961. And then we celebrated that for every month all through the years. on 18th of every month. And it turned out that Marisol in Mexico was born on March 18th.
Oh.
There is only one chance in 365 that this is a coincidence.
Yes.
I surely believe that my wife Inger had a finger in that.
Yeah, that is definitely destiny.
It was Jung, he was a philosopher. Jung was
Carl Jung.
Carl Jung, yeah.
The Swiss.
He was the student for Freud.
Yes.
And he was very interested in synchronicity. And he worked together with Wolfgang Pauli, who was the quantum physics, one of the giants in quantum physics. And they worked together with this. So it's interesting how that they move into this area of quantum physics.
Yes, it's also they also had a long mail contact with Heisenberg.
Yeah.
And Jung really wanted. He was surprised that science actually proved his own ideas, and that was the word created synchronicity.
Yeah.
Because for Jung it was important. It's not just something I make up in my mind. It's this physical. It can be measured. It can be experimentally looked at, so to speak. Entanglement in time. Somebody called it.
Yes.
Would that be correct?
Entanglement, yes.
And that is very important that they have received the Nobel Prize in 2022.
Yes.
Yeah, this is what will change. Nobody believes, even a friend who was so stern, classical physicist, had read Teknisk Fysik. When he saw the Nobel Prize, I would never believe in chance, because it's proven beyond doubt there is no chance in the universe. Never. Everything is this connection thing, entanglement.
This will be very interesting now because now it is scientifically proved that entanglement exists and it works immediately.
Beyond every doubt, yeah.
Yes. So it's great. That is a milestone.
I drank the best champagne I had.
Even along very large distances and faster than light, information should not be able to pass faster than light, but in entanglement it does immediately.
Yeah. According to Einstein, nothing can travel. So Einstein was proven completely wrong with his, at least this idea of nothing is faster than light.
And Einstein never believed in entanglement.
No, I know. It's so this is this. My friend in technical physics, he was really Einsteinian. He thought that he was the top of the science list. But
yes.
after
Of course, he was.
In many aspects,
One
yes.
of them,
Yeah. And he also received the Nobel Prize, I think, 2 times.
Yes.
But after this 2022, which is a big opener for many people, because in most aspects of knowledge, especially you read this book, like biology and medicine, it's completely classical.
Yes.
You look at, for instance, the body as a piece of material, which is wrong. There's nothing like material at all. And you calculate it very, very Newtonian. And you, of course, you get mythological results from that. But now quantum mechanics is coming.
Yes.
Biology, chemistry, medicine.
But how will it be implemented?
It will be starting now.
Yeah, but how?
It wasn't even allowed before 2 years ago.
How do you think it can be implemented?
It slowly comes now.
Yeah, but how can it be
I
implemented?
have no idea, mate, no idea. But the myth gives yield. Like we believed in things that was not true.
Yeah, I know, but how can it be
I have
implemented?
been in conferences about consciousness a couple of times, and there is a great dispute there if the consciousness is produced in the brain or if the brain simply is a receiver of consciousness.
Consciousness doesn't exist. We make it up.
Not according to science.
Obviously,
We make
obviously,
it up out of data, don't know whatever kind of data. We make it up.
the thing is that the collapse of the wave function is caused by consciousness.
I'm sorry?
The collapse of the wave function
Mhm.
is caused by consciousness.
At what level?
It's proven by
Yeah, but
every level.
okay, we can influence it, you mean?
You create it.
Yeah, but then that's also that you
What-
can
what-
influence it.
What
No, it's creation.
what the consciousness does is to force the universe into a specific state.
Okay, okay, oh, wait a minute, but then you, by the word consciousness, you mean, and not my consciousness.
Yes, I do.
You can call it yours, I think. Yeah.
No, is my consciousness or consciousness?
The universe conscious.
Okay, so my can be different.
I think Stefan says universe and you say maybe the individual person, maybe? Do you say what collapses the wave function is the individual consciousness, for instance, Jan's?
Yes,
So they are.
but they are connected in some way. That
Ah.
is Wigner's paradox.
Oh yeah, Wigner's paradox. Yeah, yes.
How is his name called?
Wigner, Wigner. And I have made a slightly modified version of that.
Oh yeah.
You have two persons viewing the same quantum mechanical system. That is, and they are far away from each other, say 1 light year, and they observe something in between them. When person A observes it, he forces the wave function to collapse. And person B also observes it and forces the wave function to collapse.
Yeah.
So does it collapse in the same way? So then they travel to each other and meet. Do they agree about what the result was? And the experiments have turned out to show that they do.
That is amazing. That's beyond belief.
You mean they have observed the same thing?
Yes.
It was providing us that on a practical level.
Yes.
No, on a practical level, what does it help mankind or?
It means that two different persons cannot cause two different realities.
In
When
an
you
absolute way, yes.
when you go out a dark night and look into the sky, you are causing something to happen with the stars that you look upon. And if it is 200 light years away, you influences what happened to that stars 200 years ago.
Okay, I understand.
And if another person also looks at that star, it collapses in the same way. So the same things are happening to the stars.
I understand, but my question is, and what on a practical level for everyday's life?
Everything that happens
Yeah, but
Is based on this.
is based upon this.
Yeah, I understand that on a, let's call it scientific level, but on a practical
On
level.
a practical level,
Definitely practical.
Yeah, but give me an example. When I tell this to a patient, what they will get with it to help them in whatever way.
I'm not.
You know, I
I'm not
had
sure if
a mouse in my work. We all have the sort out plastic, metal, and there was mouse who were eating.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a gap there long gap. So I said I must do something to tighten it up so the mouse cannot come in. And I see what can I find. And I know I had a drawer where I can have some spare wood. And I found that this long, very thin plywood thing. And I just could put it in. Done.
Problem fixed. No more mouse.
No mouse. And it was just there.
What did that have to do with whatever quantum physical?
It was that. I mean, I don't know why it is. I mean, it's happened to me many times that if I need something, I go and look, and there it is.
Yeah,
I don't even have to saw
No, I understand, but that's what it's a reduction from reality, and it's, in my opinion, an affordance for not taking this to solve it. But you will only see these things that will as an afford.
Yes. You can put this önskan, we call it your want önskan. So he had a wish for it to exist, and therefore it came to existence.
Yeah.
Therefore he noticed it.
No, it's very important that you use the expression came to existence.
But it was already there.
No.
It was there.
In a way.
No.
Be careful, because the collapse of the wave function comes there, so to speak, if we're going to use quantum mechanical.
Yeah.
And that changes the past.
Yes.
Retrocausality is it?
Yeah. But if that's now my opinion, if you go for 100% in that, let's call it philosophy, why should I do whatever?
I don't go into philosophy.
No. If I should take that as my philosophy, as my...
It's reality, mate.
No, wait a minute. As reality, as you name it.
Yeah.
I should stay here.
Why? Why would you do that?
Because
I think you're aware of Schrödinger's cat,
Yes.
and that the cat is both dead and
Yes,
alive
yes.
until you observe it.
Yes.
And so you really influence the reality by observing.
Yes. And now comes the question, why and how did whoever observe something, I don't dare to say the word, first?
Well, if we go to the Bible, in the beginning of the Bible, you can read God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, and then the light was separated from darkness until the observation there could be totally dark and blinding light at the same place at the same time. So the collapse of the wave function is already there.
Okay.
And that possibly was the first collapse of the wave function.
Very good. I think maybe you gentlemen are beginning to feel some
Yes,
need
why
for
not?
food. Should we go for some?
Oh,
What do you say?
It is late.
Oh God! You're dying from starvation, I think.
No, it's starving.
It's round the corner if you're interested.
I was had a problem, I got a solar panel for heating hot water, and I had a värmeväxlare, a heat exchanger for the solar panel to the hot water tank, and I had to insulate it somehow, and I didn't know how to do that, and I was taking my bike and go to work. How shall I insulate it? And suddenly, on the road, on the side of the road in the ditch, there was cellplast,
You're this
plastic foam.
Plastic, the styrofoams,
Mhm.
and then it was a solution. I just picked it up on my bike, and then I, after work, I went home and I could put things together. So why should it be just there when I was thinking
No,
about it?
no. Why did you see it is the question.
Okay, because I was thinking of how to solve that problem.
He was primed and he created it.
No, it was primed and it was in affordance and it came together.
Okay.
Came to existence.
Because how many other things were there that you didn't see?
No.
That's true. It was grass.
What the cause is depends upon how that piece of stuff happened to be there. Had someone thrown it away, then it was already there.
Depends on
But
the color.
had it just fallen off a car without anyone noticing it, then you created it.
Yeah. It gets even weirder with retrocausality,
Yes.
which is proven by these three Nobel Prize laureates. They're actually the past that didn't work, it gets eradicated.
Yes.
Did you hear that, Jan?
Mhm.
So the past, so in the story with the styrofoam here, all the past where the styrofoam didn't exist, and you can even film him not finding the styrofoam, you can film, those films will disappear or change. Everything, all evidence of an alternative story, and we will end up with his story. This is proven by Zeilinger. It's weird and everything, but it's actually true.
Just
Not
write
even
down.
a video camera.
Write down this word.
I also usually ask people, do you think the contents of a video camera can be changed?
The contents of video.
Yeah, what you film with a video camera or take up with a speaker or recorder. Do you think that could be changed?
You mean to change the zeros and the ones?
Yes, exactly.
Yes, or to change the text on the paper.
Yeah, the text on the
But
paper.
I don't think that if I have a CD of Beethoven, I can change it into a CD of
because Beethoven has already seen it.
Beethoven has already.
As long as he has observed it, Beethoven has observed it until
Then
it's
it is unchangeable.
You know,
No, I'm talking about the CD of that.
Yes.
It's not.
Okay.
Okay.
if no one's seen it, it can be changed.
you know, I was in Croatia in Split, and there came a big ship, a warship from the US, which was very, very secret. It was high, as you couldn't enter into that harbor, but I could take a picture away, and I took a picture, and I wanted to then hour later show it to my friends, and it was gone. There was no picture.
There you have it.
And that was NSA. They deleted it immediately because everything is goes to NSA.
Wait a minute, you did okay, wait a minute, you did it with your iPhone.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you should have done it with an old camera.
No, then they couldn't take it. If it was
Analog. Then you, okay, no, okay.
But even the analog could be changed by retrocausality if no one's seen it.
I don't know.
Proven, I'm sorry.
Shall we go?
Yes. If you're hungry, let's go. It's around the corner.
Shall we leave things here?
You can do as you please.
You do not need that because it is in Swedish.
Jag förstår lite.
Yes.
Ja,
Then you should have this one because that is the one to show to people.
Okay, I end the recording. It's more than 2 hours, my God. I thought